Kwik-Way loader, part 2, going on to the Sovereign over there. The hood's off of this mainly because it's a pain to get it on and off to check the oil. So, Sean, you okay with the hood staying off of that? If not, I'll put the hood on and I will just pin it on. You pull a clip and then you can pull the hood straight up and off. If you're concerned about that, I personally would, in case the bucket decides it's going to dump something backwards. But if you've not had that issue with this one, you shouldn't have it with that one. So you let me know if you want the hood on it or not. I can shoehorn it in there. It will be really close, but I can shoehorn it in there. Now what I'm doing is just going over and assessing, once again refamiliarizing myself with what all we have to do. We'd have to drill the front member, that plate right there, this orange plate, to mount the bracket for the hydro pump, and then another mounting bolt right there, and they are not in the same place as the existing holes. So quite simply, I'll just pattern it. I'll pattern this to that, get those holes drilled. And then as far as subframe goes, there's only one piece of subframe just forward of the back tires. It takes 4 bolts to mount it, and it is secured in place. So I will be separating the loader from that cross member so I can get the cross member installed and then come back and put the loader on. So we'll be working on getting the bracket put on the front to hold the pump, and the cross member in the back to hold the loader. And once we get to that point, we will just need to delete, and I figured it's just cleaner and easier and better. We're just going to delete the clutch brake pedal over here because it becomes unusable with the loader on. This loader I don't think was directly oh, it does have these down supports right here, so I will need to come to the frame. Let's see, the height of the frame. This is a shallower frame, so I will need to come up. We may have to figure that out. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out. We've got this extra piece of steel welded here, and then the upright support towards the front of the frame is right here on either side. And the height of the frame here, this frame is considerably taller, and this is up pretty high, so we're gonna have to see what we will have to do there, because we've got the power steering cylinder right here, and it's going to be really close to being in the way because it's just forward of the running board. So just forward of the running board, as you can see, I have precious little to no room right here to make a secure fix. So we're going to have to figure that one out. That's going to be the big part. So far, that's going to be the biggest part, is the fact that this frame is much shallower right here than the other frame, and that where we need to put that front support, at least on this side, the power steering cylinder is in the way, as well as the bracket that holds it, which is right behind it. You can see it. Maybe you can see it there, right down in there. So I mean, we literally have, we go from maybe 3/16 of an inch down to 1/8 in the back. I know I'm kind of there, we can see it a little better. You can see that, this mounting bracket right here for the power steering. So that's going to put a little wrench in the works. I have to do some figuring on that to make sure. What I'll probably do is just make a gusset plate here that comes down. Just bring that gusset plate down. I'll relocate this ground to the bottom screw so that it is not in the way of the regulator. But I think that's our best bet, is to weld in a gusset here, and that will give us our height that we need. You can see the natural line here. This is how tall the frame is on the other tractor is all the way up to here. On this frame, it's really shallow. All right, so we've got that to contend with on this side. Let's look at the other side and see what we've got to contend with over here. All right, looking over here, and we'll just probably lather, rinse, repeat. We'll relocate this bolt, which does not appear as though it's holding anything at all. That means that one over there is probably not either. We'll do another gusset plate here, and I'll have to pick up some, so I'll have to go get some steel. Or look, I know I've got the steel. And well, the gusset plate in here, big enough so that we can build out our front support. This side's not going to be so bad. The other side is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we will make sure that it is as rigid as it needs to be to handle all the tasks at hand. The rear frame support just uses these 2 bolts, and there's 2 bolts just like it on the other side, and then the subframe comes up from the bottom. So in coming up from the bottom, we'll just need to notch out right here in the floorboard for that to come up. And it was cut out with a torch on the other one. More than likely I will not use a torch. I'll use cutting wheels and try to keep my fingers out of them. All right, so we're going to run into hiccups here and there. I'm working on getting a shelter for some of my tractors so that I can commit the shop to these 2 tractors and not have 0 room to work. And I'm going to leave the 7117 out covered up. I'll probably leave my tractors out covered up until I can find a storage solution. I've got a couple neighbors with some pole barns with some room in them. I might lean on them since they're always having me help them. So, and then the front pulley on the 16 horse, it's got a 1-inch keyed shaft, okay, and a 3.5 inch or 3 1/4 inch pulley. That's great, but that pulley will not work over here. We can see we're a considerable distance away. Let me just get a measurement here with the flashlight. Okay, we come right down to the shoulder of the flashlight right there. Let me come over here, and yeah, but that's okay. But this is a 1 1/8 inch as opposed to 1 inch, so we need a different pulley. Well, that problem is solved right here. Same size, yeah, that. Same size, yeah, that. Same size as that pulley, diameter wise. I have to clean this, but this is keyed. You can see where the spline's been pressed into it right there. So this will go on once I clean it. It'll go on, and then I will make a spacer in the back so that this pulley is properly lined up with the hydro pump. And then I have the bolts for these and the large heavy washers, the Belleville washers, and we'll just mount it just like that with a bolt right in the center, right through that hole, and that'll be ready to go. But I'll need to make a spacer for the back, and I can just do that on the lathe, no big deal, easy peasy. So, and then we'll get that positioned after we get the pump mounted. I want the pump mounted. And then looking at the exhaust, now this is clamped on, so that's good, because I don't think we've got that much room over here in this corner. We might have, but that's a no, we won't, because that the muffler, we've got this big bracket here and you can't even see the whole thing. That bracket goes all the way back to where my fingers are right here. There you go, you can see it. So big bracket, so that current exhaust won't work. I'll probably just shorten it and turn it out. Yeah, probably just shorten it, because if he wants the hood on, it's going to want to try to exit the side of the hood if I put the turn out. I don't want it blowing back at the engine or back at him as the operator. So something else to figure out is just the exhaust, but the exhaust is a small thing, you know, and we may be able to route it in some entirely different way. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but that's where we're at. And I'm doing this video here as much for you guys as I am for myself, so that I can go up and break out my drafting supplies and get a game plan going on what I need to do, you know, what shape I need to make the gussets in there, make my templates, get my steel cut, get it welded in. Quite a bit of fabbing up that'll need to be done, just because our frame is so short right here, and our power steering cylinder, and then we've got a nice tall robust frame here. And as you can see where that is bolted, I mean, it's bolted above the frame height of this other tractor, so we're gonna have to, like I said, gusset in here so that we're going to be able to mount. And we've also got 1/4 inch plate steel that's welded to it. We need to get a couple pieces of that and get that affixed to the frame so that it's good and solid, because if you're picking 350-400 pounds up with the bucket, you really need those supports to do their job, to do what they need to do. And you know, where they're located, they don't have to be located exactly in this position. They will move this way and that way, so we may be able to come up high enough here so that it's not going to interfere with the frame at all, and that'll also put the mounts further forward. But we just got to make sure we're clearing the engine. Lots of little itty-bitty details to check, plan, figure, cone figure, get laid out, and get done. But for now, I think we're going to start the disassembly process, and we'll leave the loader sitting out here, get the subframe off, and start getting measurements off of this tractor to transfer over to the Sovereign with the power steering. So sit tight for that. This is going to be a long one, and it's going to be numerous parts.